Chosen one, pause for a moment. Heaven has interrupted your timeline to deliver this exact word. This is not chance, not random. This is the meeting place of your destiny and divine timing. The stillness that surrounds you right now is not emptiness. It is sacred space. The Spirit has orchestrated this encounter because you are awakening to your assignment. You have walked through fires that few could endure. You have smiled when your soul wanted to collapse. You have loved when others used you. Every battle, every tear, every closed door was shaping you into something holy, someone heaven could trust. You are the proof that pain has purpose. You feel it now, don't you? That trembling in your chest, that heat behind your eyes, it's your spirit recognizing truth. You were never meant to disappear among the crowd. You were never ordinary. You are the interruption to generational darkness, the divine contradiction that defies statistics. The seasons of loneliness were never punishments, they were preparations. When heaven hides you, it is never rejection, it is refinement. The silence of God is not absence, it's instruction. Every unanswered prayer was heaven saying, "Wait, I am building something eternal." And while you waited, unseen hands were arranging divine intersections, people, places, and moments that will recognize the anointing you carry. What looked like delay was orchestration. Heaven was teaching you that hidden seasons birth unshakable roots, and roots that go deep will one day hold great glory. In those quiet nights when hope flickered, your spirit was learning heaven's rhythm. You discovered that stillness is not weakness, but strategy. The Creator trains His chosen in solitude so their voices carry authority in storms. Every silent hour has prepared you for prophetic sound, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old, from the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 14. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Let that settle deep into your spirit. For such a time as this you were designed for now. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment was part of the divine sequence leading you here. Your name has been whispered in heaven's chambers, written in light among the chosen. The war around your life has never been about who you were, it has always been about who you are becoming. Hell recognized your potential long before you did. That's why the attacks were early and intense. But the very fact that you are still here is the evidence that heaven's mark remains on you. You are awakening to a holy assignment to stand firm when others flee, to carry peace when the world collapses, to speak light into systems of fear. You were sent here as heaven's strategy, a living testimony that divine order still reigns amidst chaos. Chosen one, feel this truth: your story is prophecy. Your scars are sermons. Your endurance is worship. You have been refined to carry frequencies that break bondage in others. Your obedience in small moments will unlock miracles in great ones. The silence of this coming Tuesday will not be emptiness. It will be activation. As you hold your peace, heaven will speak on your behalf. Angels move most in stillness. The voice of God often rides on quiet winds, not thunder. Do not despise the silence, it is your command center. You have not missed your moment. You are not behind. You are right where eternity planned for you to be. What you feel stirring is the countdown to revelation, the divine unveiling of who you truly are. The mantle is descending even now, invisible but undeniable. Remember, beloved, your identity was written before the stars were hung. The number 144's honor is not just prophecy, it is heritage. It represents a people sealed in purpose, unwavering in purity, unstoppable in obedience. You are among them, let your heart steady. This message is a marker, a line in the sand. The version of you that doubted, that feared, that begged for validation, that version expires tonight. The anointed version rises. If these words resonate in your spirit, respond with faith. Like this message, share it to awaken another soul. Comment your agreement below and subscribe to remain in the flow of revelation that heaven is releasing over the chosen. At the end, type 14,4000 in the comments as your declaration of recognition, your signature that heaven's seal has found you. This is not the end. It is the beginning of remembrance, the reintroduction of your divine identity. You are not hearing this by accident. You were meant to. The world around you moves as if nothing has changed. Yet within you, something ancient begins to stir. It is not a new fire, but an old one, reigniting after years of quiet. You feel a pulse under your skin, not of flesh, but of calling. You are beginning to remember the mark you carry, the invisible seal that heaven placed on those set apart long before the chaos of this age. You have always known you were different. Even as a child, there was a distance between you and the world's rhythm. You sensed things others ignored, felt burdens that were not your own, and carried compassion that others mocked as weakness. But it was never weakness, it was evidence of your divine marking. You are part of the 144,000 chosen to carry light where shadows multiply. You were hidden for this hour. There are secrets heaven reserves for those who listen. While the masses chase noise, the marked ones are drawn into silence. In that stillness, revelation breathes. Revelation. Heaven does not shout. It whispers, and only hearts tuned to obedience can hear it. The seal you bear is not seen with eyes, but felt in the spirit. It hums beneath your pain, it glows through your endurance, and it becomes stronger every time you choose righteousness over revenge. So you wandered, searching for belonging, not realizing you already had it in heaven's registry. Every disappointment, every detour, every betrayal carved you deeper into the identity of the sealed ones. Those experiences were not punishments. They were prophecies fulfilled. Your journey has never been about comfort, it has been about consecration. Heaven refines those it plans to reveal. When God chooses someone, He often cloaks them in seasons of obscurity, so that when the unveiling comes, it carries the fragrance of authenticity, not performance. As the apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians chapter 1, verse 13, you were included in Christ when you heard the truth, the gospel of salvation. When you believed, you were sealed by Spirit. That seal is your spiritual signature. It cannot be faked, duplicated, or erased. It is recognition in the unseen realm that you belong to the King. Angels know it. Demons fear it. The earth responds to it. Every time you speak with purity, that mark radiates. Every time you love when you could hate, it blazes brighter. Chosen one. There is more inside you than what the world can comprehend. You carry frequencies of heaven that heal hearts and shift atmospheres. You are a living altar, a point of intersection between the visible and invisible. That is why your emotions feel heavier, your discernment sharper, your dreams more vivid. You are being reawakened to your assignment to intercede, to speak truth, to carry compassion as a weapon. Sometimes you will feel the weight of the world pressing on your chest, not because you are weak, but because your heart is tuned to divine empathy. The 144,000 do not walk detached, they walk aware. They sense when creation groans and respond in prayer, in purity and power. You have felt that pull in your spirit, that ache that cannot be explained. It is heaven's language written on your soul. The world may call you strange, but heaven calls you necessary. The systems of darkness have advanced because too many of the chosen forgot who they were. But now the remembrance begins again. The marked ones are waking up, and every whisper of awareness is another signal in the spirit. You were not chosen because of perfection, but because of willingness. God saw your heart long before He refined your habits. He saw a vessel that would not bow to fear or fame. You carry the endurance of generations within you, the prayers of ancestors who never saw the promise but believed it would come through you. There will be days when you doubt, days when the mark feels more like a burden than a blessing. But even in those moments, heaven remains patient. The mark is mercy. It means you are never alone in your struggle. The Spirit inside you intercedes when words fail. The seal is not a brand of superiority. It is a reminder of stewardship. And soon, the world will see what heaven already knows. The hidden ones will emerge, not as celebrities but as servants. Their eyes will carry fire. Their words will carry peace. Their presence will carry authority. You will walk among them because you are one of them. You will not have to announce it. The light will speak for you. So breathe deeply. Chosen one. Feel that steady pulse of divine belonging beating within you. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are marked, sealed, remembered. And when the silence of Tuesday arrives, your stillness will testify to heaven's design. The light within you has never been extinguished. It was only waiting for permission to rise. The air around you thickens with quiet purpose. You can feel that something holy is approaching, a weight that does not crush but consecrates. Heaven has issued an instruction that few will understand: the Tuesday of silence. To the world, it will seem ordinary, but for the chosen, it will carry divine voltage. This silence is not absence, it is alignment. When heaven calls for stillness, it is preparing to speak in a frequency that only obedience can catch. You have been trained to move, to fight, to strive, but now, God calls you to pause. The same hand that parted the Red Sea also commanded the waters to rest. There is power in restraint. The command for silence is not punishment, it is proof of trust. Heaven does not ask noisemakers to be quiet. It asks warriors who understand that victory sometimes comes without sound. On that Tuesday, your silence will echo louder than sermons. It will be your act of war, a sacred hush that unsettles darkness. You may wonder why such stillness matters. It matters because obedience always does. Each moment you hold your tongue when provoked, each time you resist explaining yourself, each time you choose prayer over reaction, heaven records it. These small acts of restraint become seismic in the spirit. The enemy expects you to respond with chaos. Instead, your silence disarms him. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 20, "But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him." That silence is not weakness, it is worship. When heaven commands stillness, it is inviting you into its rhythm. You stand in the temple of time, while creation itself holds its breath. The earth obeys before the presence of God, so should you. Your silence will not go unnoticed. The spiritual realm will tremble because the chosen ones are synchronizing. Across continents, thousands will obey the same unseen instruction, creating a harmony that heaven recognizes as faith. The Tuesday of silence will be a divine rehearsal for the days ahead, a moment where heaven measures hearts, not words. You are not called to explain your obedience to anyone. Those around you may question, mock, or misunderstand, but that is because they do not carry your mark. Remember, Noah built the ark in silence while the crowd laughed. Obedience does not require an audience. When Tuesday comes, be still. No arguing, no defending, no overthinking, just presence, just awareness, just trust. You will feel a strange calm descend, the stillness of God resting upon you. In that calm, instructions will unfold like petals. The Spirit will write upon your heart, not with ink, but with peace. This silence is not about muting your voice. It is about amplifying heaven's. You have spoken enough in past seasons. Now, the Creator speaks through you by saying nothing. What looks like inactivity is actually activation, the training of the tongue, the tempering of power. Many are loud but lack authority. The chosen are quiet yet carry thunder. Your silence will carry more anointing than 10,000 empty words. It is how heaven sharpens your discernment, how it turns your inner chaos into clarity. Do not underestimate what will happen on that day. As you honor heaven's call, chains will break silently. Strongholds will crumble quietly. Situations that once tormented you will shift without confrontation. Angels will move in formation at the soundless command of your obedience. You may not hear thunder, but heaven will. You may not see fireworks, but the unseen realm will light up with activity. For once, it will not be about doing, but being one with divine order, being still and knowing that God is God. And when the silence passes, revelation will flow. You will hear the instructions you have been waiting for. Doors will open in stillness that effort could never unlock. You will understand that silence is not the absence of sound, it is the fullness of surrender. Chosen one, this command will test your heart more than your mouth. But you are ready. You have been prepared through patience, disappointment, and hidden seasons. Heaven trusts you with this assignment because your obedience is not shallow, it is sacred. Now, breathe. Let this truth rest inside you like holy fire. You have nothing to prove. Your silence will prove everything. When your heart feels the confirmation, write this below as a declaration of unity among the chosen. I hear heaven. Write it not as a phrase, but as a proclamation. When you comment those 3 words, you align yourself with a wave of obedience sweeping across nations. You tell heaven, I'm ready to listen. For on that Tuesday, when silence wraps the chosen in divine stillness, your heart will echo with eternity and heaven will respond. The night feels different now. The atmosphere carries a strange vibration, soft but charged, like the hum before a storm. You sense movement in the unseen realm, quiet yet purposeful. Heaven is rearranging assignments, shifting alignments, and calling the chosen into new positions. You are not imagining this. It is the soundless march of destiny. While the world sleeps, angels move. They do not rest because time is short, and every heartbeat of yours counts in the tapestry of divine order. You are being repositioned without your consent because obedience has already signed your name to a higher plan. There are whispers in the spirit, strategic. Holy communications meant only for those who have ears trained by silence. You are one of them. This is the realm of whispers, where heaven speaks in codes, where truth travels on wind and revelation rides upon rest. Those who crave noise will miss it, but those who have learned stillness will catch it like music. You now live in this frequency, where every whisper carries instruction. It may not come as thunder, it may come as a thought, a sudden peace, or an unexplainable knowing. These are the ways of heaven. In the days ahead, you will begin to sense divine nudges, moments when your spirit pulls you left instead of right. Moments when your heart tells you to wait when logic screams, go. Do not resist these gentle tugs. They are confirmations that the Spirit is speaking to you directly. The whispers of heaven rarely shout. They simply repeat until your spirit says yes. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." That voice is not always loud, but it is always sure. It does not rush. It reassures. You will begin to recognize it more clearly now because your silence has sharpened your discernment. The Tuesday of stillness was not a ritual, it was training. Heaven was teaching you to hear beyond the human frequency, to feel divine motion beneath ordinary days. Every chosen one receives secret instructions, not in the language of men, but in the vibrations of the heart. You may find yourself waking in the night with a name in your mind, a verse repeating, or a burden that feels heavier than usual. These are not random occurrences, they are invitations to partnership. When you respond in prayer, even briefly, heaven moves with precision. Understand this: your calling is not limited to a platform, a stage, or recognition. The greatest assignments are carried in secret. The whisper you obey in private can shift nations in silence. The unseen obedience of the chosen sustains the visible world. Every act of listening is an act of war against confusion. There are moments when heaven will speak through disruption, a sudden delay, an unexpected detour. Even a closed door can carry the tone of divine language. Do not be discouraged when plans shift abruptly. Often, the whisper sounds like disappointment before it reveals itself as direction. The closed door is mercy disguising itself as denial. Chosen one, you are being trained to walk by spirit, not by sight. The world celebrates noise, the loud, the obvious, the dramatic. But heaven celebrates the hidden obedience of those who listen. Every whisper you honor increases your authority. The quieter you become, the clearer the voice becomes. The whispers of the spirit realm are not meant to control you, but to guide you toward alignment. There will be moments when your spirit trembles for no reason. Pause there. Do not rush to fix it with logic. Instead, ask, "What are you saying, Lord?" and wait. You will be surprised how quickly peace answers back. The 144,000 are learning to live in this awareness, silent, listening, moving only when heaven breathes. It is a sacred synchronization that confuses darkness. Demons cannot predict those who follow whispers. They depend on noise to track movement. Your obedience in quietness makes you invisible to the enemy and visible to God. Soon, you will begin to notice divine patterns, people appearing at the right time, phrases repeating across your days, songs echoing messages you needed to hear. Do not dismiss these as coincidences. Heaven has a rhythm, and when your heart beats in sync with it, everything around you begins to align. This is how you live as the chosen, by following the invisible thread of divine whispering through the labyrinth of earthly life. You are not led by sight, nor pushed by fear. You are drawn by love, one whisper at a time. The silence of heaven never lasts forever. It always gives birth to a sound. And now, after stillness, you begin to hear movement again. It's not chaos, it's purpose taking form. Like rain that falls after a long drought, revelation begins to pour gently into your spirit. You can almost taste the freshness of what God is about to do. You've been in the shadows for a while, wondering if anyone noticed the quiet work happening in your soul. But heaven has been watching every step, every prayer, every moment you chose faith when fear was easier. The refining fire that once felt like punishment was, in truth, the potter's hands shaping your vessel for glory. Think of gold in the furnace. It doesn't resist the fire, it allows the heat to draw out what doesn't belong. You have walked through fire and did not melt. You stood when you could have fallen. That resilience born in silence is what makes your light now irresistible. You are not returning to what was. You are being sent forward, forged in divine flame, shining in divine purpose. There's a beauty to this transformation that only heaven can orchestrate. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, you are shedding old layers of doubt and fear. Every tear you once hid is turning into dew upon the wings of your becoming. What the enemy thought would bury you became the soil that nourished your rebirth. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And that morning, beloved, is dawning now. You have survived the longest night, and heaven is painting your horizon with new colors. The silence of Tuesday, the whispers of obedience, and the fire of refinement were all part of a single symphony, a song of destiny written with your heartbeat. But remember, light is not meant to hide beneath a bowl. The flame you carry is not for you alone, it is meant to ignite others. The world is full of hearts still trapped in their night seasons, unaware that morning is near. When you share your light, whether through your words, your kindness, or even through this message, you become the sunrise someone has been praying for. If these words have reached your soul, if they've touched something sacred in you, let your response be more than emotion, let it be connection. When you like, you're not feeding an algorithm, you're affirming heaven's truth. When you share, you're sowing light into someone else's darkness. And when you subscribe, you're choosing to walk with this growing family of awakened ones, souls like yours, learning to listen and to live aligned with purpose. Your participation is not mechanical, it's prophetic. Each gesture, each click, each share, each seed of generosity echoes in eternity, like drops of oil poured into a lamp. These small acts keep the flame burning brighter for others who still wander in the dark. You see, even your donation, no matter how small, is not a transaction, it's transformation. It's an offering, a whisper back to heaven saying, I believe in this light. Every time you give, you become part of the message itself, the unseen structure that holds the temple together. You're not funding content, you're fueling calling. The harvest that comes from this space will bear your fingerprints too. Picture this: a single candle lighting another. It loses nothing of its flame, but together they illuminate an entire room. That's how the chosen multiply impact, through generosity of heart, through giving that expects nothing but more light in the world. You are that candle, and this is your chance to lift it higher, not for show, but for salvation. Not for credit, but for connection. The glow of one faithful act can reach farther than you imagine. You've walked through the night, endured silence, and listened to whispers. Now heaven invites you to participate in the rising dawn. Every seed, every word, every act of love becomes part of heaven's rhythm of restoration. Chosen one, the time for hiding is over. The time for shining has begun. This is not just a message, it's a movement, and you are part of its pulse. The world is dimmer when you stay quiet, but when you act, when you pour out even a little of what you've been given, darkness retreats. So lift your light. If your heart feels stirred, respond as you are led, like to declare agreement. Share to send the flame further. Subscribe to stay aligned. Or give as your spirit moves, because when heaven sees generosity wrapped in obedience, it multiplies it beyond measure. This is your morning, beloved. The sun is rising over your life, and heaven is smiling upon the glow that refuses to fade. You are the evidence that darkness never wins. There are moments when isolation feels heavier than pain itself, when the silence of heaven stretches longer than you expected, and you begin to wonder if you've been forgotten. But, chosen one, you were never abandoned. The test of isolation is the proving ground of greatness. What you call loneliness, heaven calls refinement. You have walked through invisible battles, smiled through heartbreak, and stood in rooms where no one understood the language of your soul. The fire you felt wasn't punishment, it was purification. God has been burning away imitation so that only authenticity remains. You are being refined like gold that glows brightest after its fiercest flame. The seasons of solitude were not delays, they were designs. Heaven hides its treasures in plain sight, often within those the world overlooks. You have been one of them, a precious vessel kept apart so that the oil of calling would not be contaminated by the noise of imitation. When people walked away, it wasn't rejection, it was divine filtration. Every goodbye was heaven whispering. Not everyone can walk with where you're going. Your heart was never too much. It was simply built for more than most could carry. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. That whisper, the same one Elijah heard, is the same presence that moves in your stillness. It speaks softly because it trusts your sensitivity. Heaven no longer needs to shout to get your attention. You have learned to listen even when everything else is silent. That is the fruit of your isolation discernment. There's a sacred beauty in being set apart. The chosen walk narrow roads, ones lined not with applause but with assignment. You are learning that destiny cannot be shared with everyone. Some relationships were seasonal, others were distractions sent to dull your spirit. When they ended, it hurt, but now you see the mercy hidden in every ending. You are not alone, even when it feels that way. The same God who spoke to Elijah in the cave is speaking to you now, not through fire, not through noise, but through peace that refuses to leave. That peace is evidence of divine companionship. The test of isolation is one every chosen soul must endure. You cannot carry the light of heaven while clinging to the comfort of crowds. There comes a time when God separates before He sends, silences before He speaks, isolates before He elevates. And you, beloved, are living that sacred sequence. Your silence was not empty, it was educational. Heaven was teaching you that dependence on others' validation weakens your anointing. You were never meant to survive by attention. You were meant to thrive by connection with the divine. The quieter you became, the stronger you grew. Now, as the world around you grows louder, your calm will become your weapon. People will not understand how you remain peaceful when everything shakes. But it's because your foundation is no longer built on noise. You have learned the unteachable, how to hear God in nothingness. Chosen one, your time of hiding is not ending, it's transforming. The cave that once confined you is turning into a classroom of revelation. You are emerging not broken but balanced, not lost but led. Every unanswered question is about to be met with divine understanding, not through explanation, but through encounter. Soon, you will look back and thank God for the silence that saved you. If heaven had spoken too early, you would have misunderstood the message. If people had stayed too long, they would have taken credit for your becoming. Isolation ensured that the only voice shaping you was the one who called you. Now the oil of endurance covers you. The fragrance of peace follows you. And the same darkness that once mocked your solitude will tremble when it sees the authority that solitude has produced. Beloved, this is not the end of your isolation. It is the revelation of its purpose. You are standing on the edge of emergence, and heaven is smiling. You've passed the test few endure without bitterness, and your reward is clarity of calling, of purpose, of who you truly are. If this word resonates deep within you, if something in your spirit whispers, "This is for me," mark your agreement in faith, type 333 below. It is not a number of luck, it is a prophetic act of recognition. 3 represents resurrection, divine completion, and new beginnings. When you write it, you are declaring, I rise again, refined and ready. You are not forgotten. You are being revealed. Heaven has finished its work in secret, and now, the light of your calling begins to break through. The stillness that follows obedience always carries revelation. In the quiet aftermath of isolation, the Spirit begins to teach a new language, not one of words, but of awareness. It is the language of heaven, spoken not through tongues of men, but through the movement of peace, the weight of presence, and the rhythm of divine timing. You, chosen one, are now learning to hear what others overlook. There are two languages in this world, one of noise and one of knowing. The first shouts for attention, the second whispers understanding. You have lived long enough in the former, now you are being initiated into the latter. Heaven's speech is not limited to sentences, it moves through signs, sensations, and silence. You begin to notice that everything around you is alive with meaning. The Spirit will speak through nature, through patterns, through moments that seem ordinary but shimmer with divine intent. The way light filters through a window, the rhythm of rain against glass, the pause between two breaths, each one becomes a classroom. The Creator's voice is written into creation itself, and the chosen are the ones who learn to translate it. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 12, ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. Hearing and seeing are not mere senses, they are gateways. When heaven activates them, you begin to perceive spiritual truth within natural scenes. You no longer look at life only through the lens of circumstance. You look through the lens of revelation. A delay is not frustration, it's formation. A closed door is not denial, it's direction. Every detail becomes a message, every moment a metaphor. You start to sense when the atmosphere changes, when conversations shift energy, when the unseen responds to your presence. You notice how peace lingers in certain places and withdraws in others. The Holy Spirit trains your awareness like a musician tuning an instrument, teaching you to live by resonance. This language of heaven requires sensitivity, not striving. It cannot be forced, only received. The more you rest, the clearer it becomes. When your spirit is still, even the smallest whisper becomes thunder. When your heart is calm, the slightest impression becomes a roadmap. In this place of divine fluency, you begin to understand that heaven is not silent, it's subtle. God hides revelation not to withhold it, but to ensure that only the pure in heart can perceive it. This protects the sacred from becoming spectacle. You are now entrusted with this delicate language, and with it comes responsibility. What heaven reveals to you in secret is not always meant to be spoken. Sometimes it is meant to be lived. There will be moments when your understanding outpaces your words. You'll feel revelation burning in your spirit, but find no language to explain it. Do not rush to translate what heaven has not yet given you vocabulary for. Some truths are meant to marinate in your spirit until the appointed time. When that moment comes, the right words will flow with divine ease. This new perception also redefines how you pray. You will find yourself speaking less and listening more. Your prayers will shift from petitions to participation, from asking God to act, to aligning with what He's already doing. Prayer becomes a dialogue, not a monologue. You become fluent in divine rhythm. Chosen one, as this language grows in you, you'll realize that heaven does not separate sacred from simple. Washing dishes, walking outside, sitting quietly, all can become holy moments. The ordinary becomes a sanctuary when awareness becomes your altar. You will sense God in laughter, in stillness, even in your waiting. The more you listen, the more heaven trusts you with mysteries. Not every revelation is meant for the masses. Some are meant only to anchor your faith. God reveals to sustain, not to entertain. This is why the chosen are often misunderstood. Their source of wisdom is invisible, but that invisibility is your strength. As your understanding deepens, words themselves begin to feel smaller. You start to see that truth is not a sentence, it's a state of being. Heaven's language is the alignment of your inner world with divine order. When you walk in peace, you are fluent in heaven's dialect. When you respond with grace, you are speaking its tongue. You no longer need to force understanding upon others. Your life itself becomes interpretation. Your peace becomes translation. Those around you will feel the shift before they understand it. They will say, "Something about you feels different," and you'll smile, knowing that difference is divine. There is power in such quiet transformation. The world may not see heaven teaching you, but creation does. Every tree, every gust of wind, every spark of morning light witnesses your awakening. The universe, once distant, now feels like home. The language of heaven always leads to action, not the frantic kind born of fear, but the measured steps of those who understand divine timing. Once your spirit learns to listen, the next stage unfolds, awakening the warrior within. For every chosen one carries both tenderness and thunder, compassion and courage. You are not only called to hear heaven, you are called to defend what heaven deposits in you. There are battles that cannot be fought with fists or words. These are wars of atmosphere, fought in the stillness of spirit, in the strength of prayer, and in the resolve of obedience. The greatest victories are often invisible because they occur before manifestation, won in the unseen realm long before they appear in the natural. Heaven does not choose warriors who thirst for conflict. It chooses those who love peace enough to protect it. You are one of them. Every trial you have faced was training for this moment. Your tears were not wasted. They were baptism into authority. The nights you thought were breaking, you were actually building your armor piece by piece. You've already fought many battles without realizing it. When you forgave someone who didn't deserve it, that was warfare. When you chose faith instead of fear, that was a strike against darkness. When you prayed for those who hurt you, heaven recorded it as victory. Every time you resisted bitterness, you advanced the kingdom. The Apostle Paul reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." This truth reshapes how you view your enemies. People are not the problem. They are the battleground. The real opposition hides in whispers, temptations, and distractions, anything designed to dim your light or delay your obedience. But you, beloved, are learning to see beyond surface shadows. The more you discern, the less you react. The warrior of light does not waste energy on petty battles. They conserve strength for divine assignments. You will notice the enemy often attacks in subtle ways through fatigue, doubt, or isolation. Darkness knows it cannot defeat you directly, so it seeks to exhaust you gradually. But heaven has already provided countermeasures. Every time you worship, light floods the field. Every time you rest, heaven rebuilds your strength. The warrior's secret weapon is not rage, but resilience. Sometimes your greatest act of warfare will be simply to stand, not to run, not to retreat, not even to fight, just stand. When you remain unmoved in faith, you become an unshakable pillar that hell cannot topple. Your stillness becomes resistance. Your consistency becomes a fortress. Chosen one, you are a paradox of softness and strength. Heaven forged you that way on purpose. The heart that feels deeply is the same heart that fights fiercely. Compassion is not weakness, it is armor woven from divine love. It's what keeps your warfare pure. You fight not to destroy, but to restore. Not to prove power, but to protect promise. There will be days when your soul feels heavy, when the war within seems louder than the peace around you. In those moments, remember this: the presence of battle means the presence of purpose. The enemy does not waste energy attacking the insignificant. The intensity of your warfare reveals the magnitude of your calling. Do not be surprised if peace feels unnatural at first. Those trained in storms find calm almost unsettling. But that calm is your new command post. Heaven's warriors do not panic, they perceive. You are learning to sense the unseen shifts that precede change. What others call coincidence, you recognize as strategy. And when darkness pushes, you will not break, you will blaze. You carry the fire that once refined you. You wear the scars that became your shield. You speak the language of heaven that turns chaos into clarity. Even your silence confuses the enemy because it carries authority disguised as quiet. Understand this: the battle you face is not merely about survival, it is about stewardship. Heaven trusts you with influence, and influence must be guarded. The purity of your light depends on the discipline of your spirit. Every thought you choose, every word you release, every emotion you govern is part of your warfare. As this awakening deepens, you will sense the company of other warriors' souls who carry similar fire. You'll recognize them not by words, but by energy. When they enter the room, peace increases, and when they speak, truth resonates. Together, you form heaven's army, unseen, unshakable, unstoppable. Your purpose is not to fight endlessly, but to bring peace through presence. The true warrior's legacy is restoration. You will leave behind not wreckage, but renewal, not ashes, but awakening. Breaking the patterns of darkness is not about violence, it's about vision. The enemy thrives in repetition, in cycles that keep the soul bound. These patterns disguise themselves as habits, relationships, and emotions that recycle pain. But the moment awareness enters, the pattern begins to crack. That awareness, chosen one, is now rising in you. You are beginning to see the invisible strings that once controlled your reactions, the same disappointments that seemed to return, the same fears that replayed like echoes in your mind. These are not coincidences, they are assignments designed to make you forget who you are. Darkness repeats until revelation interrupts, and revelation has just arrived. The Spirit is pulling back the veil so that you may discern what truly wages war against your peace. It's not always external, it often hides within the doubts you nurture, the guilt you feed, the comfort you protect, though it slowly kills you. Heaven is calling you out of internal prisons built by repetition. Every broken pattern begins with awareness, and awareness always begins with courage. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, from the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Darkness loses its grip the moment you stop feeding it. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you are breaking a generational chain. Every time you speak truth instead of silence, you are dismantling deception. Every time you believe when it would be easier to doubt, you strike another blow against the shadow. The most dangerous prisons are those built with invisible walls. Guilt, shame, fear, they are architects of cycles that keep destiny delayed. But today those structures tremble because your consciousness is awakening. You no longer walk in ignorance, you walk in illumination. Heaven does not just want to free you, it wants to teach you how to stay free. And staying free means changing rhythm. The enemy studies your reactions, what angers you, what distracts you, what tempts you. But now you move differently. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase validation, you embody value. The devil cannot predict a mind renewed by revelation. That unpredictability is your protection. You begin to notice triggers that once ruled your mood no longer carry weight. What once broke you now passes through you without residue. This is growth wholly. Unseen growth. The renewal of your mind isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle of choosing light over shadow every single day. At times, you will feel the temptation to return to old versions of yourself, the familiar anger, the old fears, the repeating self-blame, but that is only the residue of a cycle losing power. The darkness always resists its own ending. Yet you have learned to stand in authority, not apology. You are not what happened to you. You are what survived it. There is a shift happening now. Even as you read these words, your atmosphere is changing. The heaviness that once lived in your chest begins to lift. Heaven is not only renewing your mind, it is recalibrating your spirit. The thoughts that used to spiral into chaos now settle into peace. You no longer wrestle for worth, you rest in it. You are learning to interrupt patterns before they solidify. A single moment of awareness, 1 second of surrender, can halt the momentum of an entire generational curse. You are not just breaking cycles for yourself, you are rewriting them for everyone connected to your name. This is legacy-level transformation, and yes, it will cost you. Breaking patterns requires silence where you once spoke, forgiveness where you once fought, wisdom where you once reacted. But the reward is peace that cannot be stolen. You will soon realize that the greatest miracle is not that situations change, it's that you do. Your transformation is the proof of divine intervention. The same darkness that once controlled your responses now flees from your presence. You don't need to shout to prove victory. Your peace will preach it. The light in your eyes will become testimony enough. Now, chosen one, if this message burns in your spirit, if you can feel heaven confirming this inside your chest, declare it in faith below. Write these words, I choose light. Write them not as mere words, but as a decision. When you type them, you participate in spiritual warfare, a digital act of faith that says, the patterns end with me. It is your signature on heaven's decree of freedom. Others will see your comment and find courage to do the same. Let your declaration be the sound that shatters repetition. Because today, you are not surviving cycles, you are rewriting them. Across the earth, something quiet but unstoppable is taking place. The hidden ones, the 144,000, are awakening, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with stillness that shakes foundations. You, chosen one, are part of this rising. Heaven has been preparing you like a seed under pressure. And now, the soil begins to split. What was buried is breaking forth. The rise of the hidden army is not dramatic. It is divine. It does not need headlines to prove its existence. It moves in compassion, not competition. The chosen are rising in workplaces, in families, in streets and schools, not carrying swords of pride, but torches of understanding. Their light does not boast, it heals. You may have thought your silence made you small, but heaven was building strength in that stillness. The seed does its most important work underground, where no eye can see. Darkness is not its enemy, it is its cradle. And now, the surface begins to tremble. You have outgrown your hiding place. The whisper within you has become a roar of purpose. We are reminded through the writings of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. But the rise of the hidden ones is not only spiritual, it is practical. Heaven's army moves through acts of kindness, generosity, and unity. Each gesture becomes a ripple that touches unseen shores. When you share this message, you are scattering divine seeds across digital field mud. When you like or comment, you water those seeds with agreement. And when you subscribe, you step into rhythm with a tribe of awakened souls walking the same road of remembrance. These actions are not trivial, they are sacred signals. Just as the early disciples broke bread to stay connected, you engage to stay aligned. What you do in this space echoes far beyond the screen. You are not interacting with pixels, you are participating in prophecy. Think of a lighthouse standing alone by the shore. Its beam doesn't chase ships, it simply shines, knowing that those lost in the storm will find it. This channel, this message, this movement, it's a lighthouse, and every person who supports it becomes part of that beam. Your donation, when offered with sincerity, becomes oil in that lamp. The brighter the flame, the farther the reach. It's not about money, it's about mission. You are not funding noise, you are fueling light. The message that reached you today can reach another heart tomorrow because someone, somewhere, decided to give. That is how heaven multiplies impact, through willing hands, through hearts that understand that generosity is a language of love. Even a small act carries eternal weight. A coin given in faith becomes a crown of glory in heaven's economy. A shared video can travel across continents to land in the feed of someone praying for a sign. A subscription becomes a digital altar, your way of saying, I belong to the light. You see, the rise of the hidden ones doesn't happen in grand stadiums. It happens through everyday obedience. A whisper shared, a seed sown, a flame guarded. You are part of this mosaic of mercy, each act, each offering, each moment of courage adding color to the larger design. When you give, it's not about what leaves your hand, it's about what enters your legacy. You are investing in souls you may never meet, in transformations you may never witness, in destinies that will remember your generosity long after you've forgotten your gift. That is the true beauty of divine giving, it outlives you. Chosen one. Heaven does not measure amounts, it measures alignment. A small act done with great love becomes thunder in eternity. You are not asked to give out of pressure, but out of revelation, to understand that generosity is one of heaven's purest languages. You are part of the 144,000, an army not built on numbers but on hearts aflame with love. As you rise, your life becomes the message, your obedience the sermon, your generosity the proof that light still conquers darkness. So, let your light rise higher. Like this message if it resonates with your spirit. Share it to scatter hope where despair has lingered. Subscribe to stay connected with the flow of heaven's voice speaking through these words. And if your heart feels the gentle nudge, give not as transaction, but as transformation. Because every flame that joins this fire expands heaven's reach. Together, we are building more than a movement, we are birthing a generation that listens, loves, and lives as light. This is the rise of the hidden ones, and you, beloved, are shining. The numbers of heaven have always carried meaning, for creation itself is built upon divine order. Every pattern in the stars, every rhythm in time, every heartbeat within you echoes with sacred precision. Nothing is random. Not even the alignment of your days. The revelation you now step into is one of numbers, heaven's language of completion, covenant, and confirmation. For centuries, humanity has misunderstood the mystery of prophetic numbers. Some have feared them, others have worshipped them, but few have truly heard them. Numbers are not idols, they are instruments. Ways by which the eternal communicates structure to the chaos of mortal life. When heaven moves, it counts. When heaven blesses, it multiplies. Every sequence is a story. In this moment, your spirit is awakening to recognize those patterns. Have you noticed certain numbers repeating before your eyes on clocks? Receipts or moments when your heart felt suddenly aware they are not coincidences, they are coordinates. Heaven uses numbers like breadcrumbs, guiding the chosen along the path of remembrance. The ancient scrolls tell us that the number 7 represents divine completion, the perfection of a process finished by God's own hand. 3 symbolizes divine fullness, the harmony of Father, Son, and Spirit. 12, divine governance. 40, preparation. 70, wisdom and sending. And then there is one number that ties your journey to eternity. 144,000 on a seal, not of limitation but of calling. It speaks of purity in chaos, steadfastness amidst shaking, and unity amidst scattering, as the voice of God thundered in the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 1. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. That seal is not visible ink, it is awareness. It marks not flesh but consciousness. To be numbered among the 144,000 is not to be superior, but surrendered. It means to carry heaven's rhythm within you, to live as proof that order still reigns amidst disorder. The mark is not a symbol of pride, but of partnership, a covenant that says, I will hold light, even when the world grows dark. The numbers that find you are reminders of that covenant. When you see 7, heaven whispers it is finished. When you see 3, the Spirit reminds you, you are never alone. When you see 1, it declares unity, God in you, and you in God. Each number speaks, not to superstition, but to synchronization. You are aligning with the design of eternity. Heaven communicates through many languages, dreams, visions, signs, silence, and yes, through numbers. But not all numbers carry meaning, only those that arrive with peace. Darkness imitates, twisting divine symbols into confusion, but peace is the signature of authenticity. If a number appears and peace follows, it is heaven's reminder. If fear follows, it is imitation. Discernment is the interpreter. You are learning to walk in rhythm with this holy mathematics. Every step you take, every decision you make, is part of a greater equation. Even your failures are accounted for. They become subtraction before multiplication, pruning before harvest. God wastes nothing. What was taken was only making room for what is greater. In time, you will begin to see the symmetry of your journey. The hardships that once seemed random will align like constellations into a picture you could never have drawn alone. Heaven's equations are not solved, they are lived. Your obedience adds, your patience multiplies, your humility divides pride, and your love carries the infinite. Do not be surprised when heaven begins to repeat these signals. The repetition is confirmation. When you see 777, it is not magic, it is mercy. When you see 111, it is alignment. When you see 144, it is remembrance. Heaven reminding you of the seal you already bear. Every number heaven shows you will carry a message suited for your season. Some will whisper encouragement. Others will call for readiness. None are random. You are not just moving through time. Time is moving through you. You carry the calendar of heaven within your spirit. Chosen one, as you mature in discernment, numbers will no longer surprise you. They will steady you. They will become reminders that even the smallest details of your existence are orchestrated by divine intelligence. You will see beauty in the balance, how endings lead to beginnings, how loss opens space for gain, how every zero holds the promise of infinity. This is the revelation of the prophetic numbers. They do not point to fate, but to faithfulness. They remind the chosen that heaven is structured, not scattered. You are living inside a divine equation where nothing is wasted, where even pain becomes part of proportion, and grace remains the constant. There is a strange paradox in the ways of heaven. Sometimes silence itself becomes the sound of victory. You are now beginning to understand why Tuesday mattered, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. Obedience often looks like stillness to the world, but to heaven it thunders. That day of silence was never about keeping your mouth closed, it was about opening your spirit. Every moment you resisted the urge to explain, defend, or react, your silence became a song that only heaven could hear. The stillness you carried released a sound that shifted the unseen realm. It's hard for many to grasp this truth, that saying nothing at the right time can be more powerful than speaking everything at the wrong one. But you have learned that discipline. Your silence has become your sanctuary. What once felt like powerlessness has turned into power itself. We are reminded through the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. There is a kind of warfare that requires words, prayers, declarations, decrees. But there is also a kind that demands only stillness. The moment you stop fighting what you cannot control, peace steps in and does what force never could. Heaven's strategy often feels backward to the human mind. You are told to move, yet God says wait. You want to speak, yet the Spirit says hush. You want to fight, but heaven whispers, be still. The world calls it passivity, heaven calls it positioning. Stillness is not surrender, it is strategy. When you were silent on that Tuesday, the spiritual world noticed. The forces that once fed on your reactions found nothing to consume. You starved your enemies of energy by refusing to respond. That was your warfare. That was your victory. Now you stand on the other side of that obedience, and your silence has turned into authority. You no longer need to argue for peace, it flows from you. You no longer need to chase validation, it recognizes you. The very atmosphere bends around your restraint. There are places you will go where words are unnecessary. Your presence alone will speak for you. People will sense something different without understanding it, that unexplainable calm, that unshakable strength. They'll call it confidence, but heaven calls it consecration. Your silence was a seed, and now it blooms into discernment. You hear more clearly, you sense more deeply, and you see more sharply. The noise that once clouded your spirit has been replaced by clarity. The voice of God that once felt distant now feels near because the static is gone. And soon, you will begin to feel the ripple of what your silence unlocked. Situations that once resisted you will begin to yield. Relationships will restore themselves without confrontation. Provision will arrive without explanation. That's what happens when obedience speaks louder than opinion. Heaven is teaching you a rhythm. Speak when Spirit says speak. Be silent when Spirit says rest. This rhythm will preserve your peace in a world that thrives on argument. The chosen are not loud, they are light. They do not announce their presence, they illuminate their surroundings. You are now walking in a new spiritual frequency, one that carries authority through calm. The storms around you may continue, but within you there is stillness. And from that stillness flows revelation, strategy, and favor. Chosen one, you have learned one of heaven's most difficult lessons, that not every battle needs your voice, and not every silence means defeat. Sometimes the loudest sermon is peace itself. And now, heaven invites you to seal this truth not with words, but with a symbol, one that carries prophetic resonance across the realm of faith. Type 555 below. It is not superstition, it is a declaration. 5 is the number of grace, and tripled It represents divine abundance and acceleration. When you write 555, you are saying, "Grace now governs my silence." It is a prophetic act, a way of declaring that your stillness is not passive, but powerful. It says to heaven, "I trust you to fight for me." It tells the unseen that you no longer waste energy on reaction, you invest it in revelation. So let the world chase noise. You will dwell in divine quiet. Let others defend themselves. You will rest under heaven's defense. For those who know when to be silent never lose. They simply win differently. The Lord has fought for you. Chosen one, and the sound of your stillness has become the anthem of heaven. After the silence comes the shift. The world around you looks the same, yet everything feels different. There is a new weight in the air, a sacred heaviness that doesn't oppress but grounds you. Heaven has moved something unseen, and now the atmosphere carries traces of victory. You can feel it in your bones even if your eyes can't yet see it. When the chosen obey, the heavens respond. The Tuesday of stillness opened a corridor, a spiritual alignment that allowed divine forces to move freely in places where resistance once stood. What you did in silence sent ripples through eternity. You did not simply pause, you participated in a cosmic recalibration. There are moments in history where heaven shifts the balance. Moments when those who listen become instruments of unseen transformation. You are living in one of those moments now. The choices of a few obedient hearts have begun to tilt the scales of time. You may not see earthquakes or hear thunder, but creation itself has adjusted its tone. Even the wind carries new instruction. The very alignment of stars whispers of movement. The delay that once hung over your life begins to dissolve. Doors that refuse to open now creak softly on their hinges. What once resisted you has begun to yield, as it is written in the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 12. Then he continued, "Do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them." Just like Daniel, you are witnessing the delayed arrival of answers long prayed for. The silence wasn't neglect, it was negotiation. Angels were contending for your breakthrough while you waited. Every act of obedience, every moment of stillness became permission for heaven to complete what it started. Now, as this spiritual shift unfolds, you may sense disorientation. Things once clear may blur, not because you've lost direction, but because God is rewriting it. You are being upgraded to a higher plane of understanding, and in that elevation, old clarity must fade so new sight can emerge. The shift in the heavens is not merely about blessings or breakthroughs, it is about governance. Heaven is repositioning you, moving you from reaction to rulership, from survival to stewardship. The authority you carry now was purchased through your silence, your surrender, and your steadfastness. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Even when you appeared still, heaven was advancing your assignment. Now, that advancement begins to manifest in ways you can recognize: supernatural peace in once chaotic areas, divine appointments replacing missed opportunities, wisdom replacing worry. You are entering a realm where discernment speaks louder than desire. The heavens are responding to those who obeyed the call to quietness. What once took months will now take moments. Acceleration follows alignment. The more your spirit rests in obedience, the faster heaven moves on your behalf. You are not chasing favor, it is catching up to you. Yet the shift will also expose what cannot move with you. Some people, patterns, and even places will begin to drift away. Do not chase them. The same wind that lifts you must sometimes scatter what no longer serves your growth. The pruning you feared is actually promotion in disguise. Your dreams may intensify. The whispers of God may come with more frequency, more vividness. You may sense burdens that are not yours to carry, discern which are assignments and which are distractions. The chosen must learn the difference, for not every burden is a calling, and not every calling is permanent. In this new frequency, your very thoughts begin to shape reality faster than before. Words carry multiplied weight. Silence carries amplified power. You are being trusted with creative authority. What you decree in faith will soon find form in the physical. Handle that power gently. It was birthed through obedience. Heaven's shift does not remove challenges, it redefines them. You will still encounter resistance, but now you face it from a higher altitude. The same mountains that once intimidated you now appear as stepping stones beneath your feet. The higher you rise, the smaller the obstacles seem. Do not expect applause for this transformation. The world will rarely recognize spiritual promotion. Your rewards are not applause, they are alignment. You may lose visibility but gain vision. You may lose noise but gain knowing. That is the true sign of elevation. This is the shift in the heavens, a movement from striving to synchronization, from asking to authority, from hoping to holding. You are not waiting for blessing. You are walking in it. The answers have been dispatched. The battle has been won in realms unseen. All that remains now is for you to continue walking in awareness. Keep your spirit anchored in peace. For the wind that lifts also tests stability. Heaven has trusted you with momentum, guard it well. Every divine shift releases something into the atmosphere: freedom, healing, restoration, and what follows next is always reversal. The tides of heaven are turning, and what once weighed upon you begins to lift. This is not imagination. This is restoration in motion. What was lost, delayed, or distorted is now returning. But not as it was, it returns refined. The reversal of the curse is one of heaven's most mysterious mercies. It does not erase history, it rewrites it. Every pain that once felt wasted becomes seed for something greater. Every injustice that marked your path becomes testimony of divine compensation. What the enemy meant for destruction has been reworked into design. When heaven reverses, it does not simply undo, it transforms. A curse becomes a corridor, a wound becomes a window, and scars become signposts of survival. You will soon look back and see how every loss was an exchange disguised as absence. Heaven never takes without the intention to multiply. We are reminded through the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. The curse often hides within memories, those internal recordings that replay regret and shame. But now, even memory itself is being healed. The same moments that once made you weep will soon bring gratitude. You will remember differently because the pain will no longer have authority over your remembrance. Heaven is touching not just your future, but your timeline. And this reversal moves beyond emotion, it touches generations. Every chain that once wrapped around your bloodline begins to rust under the rain of mercy. Patterns that haunted your family for decades are now meeting resistance because you stood still when others fled. You became the hinge upon which the door of deliverance turns. The curse breaks not by shouting, but by standing. It collapses when heaven's truth outweighs human trauma. You did not argue with darkness, you outlasted it. And now, as you breathe in peace that once felt unreachable, the very air testifies that the curse no longer holds jurisdiction over your name. Look around your life carefully. You will begin to see subtle signs of reversal. Opportunities that once closed will reopen in new forms. People who wronged you will seek forgiveness, not from guilt but from divine prompting. Finances that seemed frozen will begin to flow again, not as random fortune but as rebalancing. The scales are correcting themselves under the weight of justice. Yet restoration is not merely external. The deeper reversal happens within, where bitterness once lived. Compassion begins to grow. The heart that once clenched in pain now expands in peace. You forgive not to free others, but to prove that the curse failed. Your mercy becomes the evidence of its defeat. Chosen one, this reversal is not loud, it's gentle. You will wake one morning and realize the heaviness is gone. You will notice laughter returning without forcing it. You will find yourself speaking life over situations that once drained you. That's how restoration moves. It arrives quietly but changes everything loudly. Do not be surprised if the world cannot comprehend your calm. They will ask, how can you be so peaceful after all that happened? You will smile, not out of pride but out of revelation, because you finally understand what once broke you now builds you. The curse reversed not because you fought harder, but because you surrendered deeper. You carry now the fragrance of freedom. Wherever you walk, residue of restoration follows. Those near you will begin to heal without knowing why. That is the power of a redeemed soul. It radiates recovery. The time of reversal has no expiration. Once heaven declares restoration, it continues indefinitely, touching places you didn't even know were fractured. The ripples of your obedience travel through unseen dimensions, fixing what years of striving could not. Even creation itself responds. The spaces around you begin to feel lighter. Rooms once heavy with tension will shift the moment you enter. Because your spirit no longer mirrors pain, it mirrors promise. The curse is not just broken, it is converted. You are walking proof that redemption is stronger than ruin. You have become the living evidence that what was meant to kill you has instead crowned you. Heaven rewrote your sentence, and now you stand not as a survivor but as a symbol. The years devoured by despair are returning, reimagined. The soil once barren now blooms again. And if you listen closely, even the earth seems to whisper your confirmation the curse is over. And now, chosen one, the great gathering begins. The 144,000, those hidden lights scattered across the earth, are awakening to recognition. You may never meet them face to face, yet you will feel them in your spirit. They are the quiet ones in crowded places, the calm in chaos, the soft voices that carry authority without shouting. Heaven has begun assembling its army of light, not with noise, but with knowing. It is written that when the hidden ones rise, darkness loses its confidence. Not because of grand gestures, but because light multiplies through ordinary obedience. The chosen are rising not as rulers, but as restorers. They wear crowns of compassion, not control. Their weapons are kindness. Their strategy is peace. You are among them. You carry the signature of heaven in your resilience, the mark of the divine in your gentleness. Every hardship that shaped you was part of heaven's training ground. You have been refined like a blade, polished, sharpened, and now ready to be used in mercy. We find in the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 3, "Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we place a seal on the foreheads of God's servants." That seal rests upon you, not seen by the world, but recognized by heaven. You are the servant marked for a time such as this. The way you carry peace in a storm, the way your words restore instead of wound, the way your presence brings balance, these are your credentials in the kingdom. You do not need titles. Your obedience is your proof. But even chosen lights need connection. A flame isolated will flicker, but flames gathered create fire that cannot be hidden. This message, this space, this unfolding movement, it is the gathering place of kindred souls. When you like, you feed that flame. When you share, you send the spark across distances you may never travel. When you subscribe, you plant yourself in the rhythm of a growing chorus of awakening hearts. This is not self-promotion, it is soul preservation. Like roots intertwining beneath the soil, these gestures of connection strengthen the whole forest. The trees do not compete for sunlight, they share it. Each act of engagement becomes another root stretching deeper into the ground of faith. You are not clicking, you are connecting. And when you give, when you donate as your heart feels led, you become a builder of bridges. Your generosity is not currency, it is construction. Every seed you sow becomes a brick in the altar of awakening. Some give through prayer, some through sharing, some through resources, but all giving is sacred. Heaven never measures the size of the seed. It measures the sincerity of the sower. Imagine this: a river flowing quietly through a desert, turning barren sand into green valleys. That's what your support does. It turns words into water for souls who thirst. Someone, somewhere is waiting for the message that once healed you. When you give, you extend the river's reach. Even a small act echoes louder than you imagine. A single share may reach the one heart crying out for confirmation. A small donation might keep the lamp burning for thousands to see. You're not just helping a message, you're sustaining a mission. Chosen one. We stand together in this sacred field of faith. Heaven has called you not only to receive light, but to reflect it. If this message has spoken to you, let your reflection ripple outward. Like to affirm, share to awaken another, subscribe to walk this journey together. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do so not from pressure but from purpose. Your giving becomes a testimony written in light. And after you do, take a moment to breathe and comment below. Write what this awakening means to you: a word, a phrase, a prayer. Your words may be the lifeline for someone scrolling through darkness tonight. You may never know their name, but heaven will. You are part of something larger than you can see, an invisible kingdom forming right here, one obedient soul at a time. The 144,000 are not distant figures in prophecy. They are living among us, awakening through messages like these. Every time you act in faith, you strengthen their light and your own. This is how the army of light advances, not with swords, but with shared strength. You are one of its torches, burning quietly, faithfully, beautifully. And when many torches burn together, even the deepest night cannot hold. So rise with gentleness, shine with humility, give with joy, comment with courage, because every flicker of your light becomes part of heaven's great fire, the fire that will not be quenched. When heaven moves, the world begins to notice, even if it cannot name what it sees. The shift that began in silence now ripples outward into visibility. You are not trying to be seen, yet light cannot hide. It reveals itself effortlessly. People around you begin to sense something different. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. The atmosphere that once resisted you now bends to your peace. The world begins to notice when heaven rests on someone. Not because of crowns or acclaim, but because presence speaks louder than performance. Wherever you go, there is an invisible calm that follows. Conversations grow softer, hearts open faster, and even chaos seems to hesitate before touching you. You have become a carrier of equilibrium, a living reminder that peace is still possible. It is not arrogance that others see, it is alignment. The glow upon your life is not artificial confidence, it is communion. What they perceive as composure is, in truth, the settled spirit of someone who has touched eternity and returned changed. You no longer carry fear like before. Your steps are lighter, your words slower, your gaze steadier. As the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, declares, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." That light is not only moral goodness, it is divine awareness expressed through action. You are becoming a translation of heaven in human form. Your patience preaches, your kindness testify, your calm becomes contagious. Without saying a word, you begin to awaken hunger in those who encounter you. They begin to crave what they cannot describe: the peace that you carry, the clarity that surrounds you, the grace that moves through you. You were never meant to shout your transformation. Heaven's work in you was designed to whisper. The power of authenticity is that it needs no advertisement. The chosen live their truth quietly, and the world watches in wonder. When others strive to impress, you simply exist, and your existence radiates message. Soon, people will approach you with questions they don't even know how to frame. They will say, "I don't know what it is about you, but something feels safe." What they sense is not perfection, it is purity of presence. They are encountering God through your stillness. You have become a mirror of divine serenity, and those who look upon you see themselves differently. But do not be surprised if curiosity is mixed with confusion. The same peace that attracts some will unsettle others. The light in you exposes without accusation. It reveals where illusion once ruled. Some will draw near, others will withdraw, but both responses prove the same truth: your light has entered the room. The Spirit is now expanding your influence without requiring your striving. You will notice doors opening without knocking, invitations arriving without effort. These are not rewards, they are responsibilities. Heaven increases influence only to expand impact. The purpose of being noticed is not self-glory, it is service. You are to carry light into systems that have forgotten how to love. You are being placed in positions where your peace will speak louder than policies. You will enter conversations meant to divide and somehow become the anchor that restores calm. You will be placed in dark places not as punishment, but as positioning. The light is not meant to escape darkness, it is meant to transform it. Be mindful of pride's whisper. The enemy cannot imitate your anointing, but he can inflate your ego. Guard your humility like treasure, for it keeps the channel of heaven clear. The moment you begin to think the glow is yours, the radiance dims. Remember always, you do not own the light, you host it. As this divine recognition grows, the pressure may follow. Influence invites scrutiny, and scrutiny tests sincerity. Yet your foundation is solid, built in the secret place of stillness and surrender. When storms arise, you will not crumble because your peace is not performative, it is anchored in presence. And as your light expands, you will find that visibility is not visibility at all, it is vulnerability. Being seen by many will teach you to rely even more on the unseen one. That is how heaven protects its vessels, by keeping them dependent, not on applause, but on intimacy. You are now walking proof of a living miracle. You were hidden, refined, and revealed not for fame, but for function. You exist as heaven's gentle reminder that transformation is still possible. Those who encounter you are not seeing you, they are encountering who you have become in Him. The world will keep noticing, not because you demand attention, but because light demands it. The sunrise does not ask permission to shine, it simply rises, and darkness must make room. So will you. The journey of the chosen is never about the destination. It is about transformation. You began this path searching for answers. But along the way, you discovered that the true revelation was not outside you. It was within. Every trial, every silence, every act of obedience has turned you into something unshakable. The divine has not merely touched you, it has taken root in you. Now, as heaven releases the final measure of this revelation, you understand that your calling was never about status or recognition, it was about resonance. You are part of a larger song, one written before time began, and every beat of your heart contributes to its melody. What began as awakening has become embodiment. You no longer seek the light. You are the light, clothed in grace and guarded by purpose. This final unfolding is what the mystics called the Great Commission of sound and silence. It is the balance between resting and releasing, between listening and declaring. You have been trained to know when to hold peace and when to speak truth. Now, heaven releases you again not as a student but as a vessel carrying divine frequency into the world. The ancient words recorded in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, declare the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This is the essence of your identity. You shine not because you try, but because you exist. You are a lamp kept alive by the breath of the eternal. Every space you enter becomes illuminated by the simple act of your presence. You do not have to fight darkness. Light has never needed to struggle. Its very nature is victory. And so, your silence and your sound now merge. The seasons of stillness taught you how to listen. The seasons ahead will teach you how to speak with precision. Your words will no longer be ordinary, they will carry weight, healing, and direction. What once flowed as emotion will now flow as authority. You have been entrusted with the ability to shift atmospheres, not through volume, but through vibration. Your life itself becomes a message written in movement. Every gesture, every conversation, every act of kindness is now infused with purpose. People will encounter peace in you without realizing they are brushing against eternity. You have become a bridge between heaven's design and earth's need. The chosen do not live for applause, they live for alignment. They are guided not by fear of failure, but by the pull of fulfillment. They walk in quiet confidence, knowing that destiny is not a destination, but a direction. Each step, each breath, each moment of surrender carries the pulse of divine order. You will feel heaven's rhythm inside you like a steady drumbeat, sometimes soft, sometimes strong, but always sure. When confusion comes, remember that rhythm. It is your compass. You are no longer chasing clarity, you are carrying it. From this day forward, you will notice synchronicities multiplying around you, doors opening without effort, conversations aligning without planning, resources appearing exactly when needed. This is not luck, it is the choreography of obedience. Heaven dances with those who have learned to move with its music. And yet, even in this maturity, remain small before the divine. The more light you hold, the softer your heart must stay. The world does not need more loud prophets. It needs quiet flame souls who burn steadily without burning out. You are one of them. You carry the balance of boldness and gentleness, fire and fragrance, strength and surrender. In the days ahead, your assignment will continue not through striving but through being. The Spirit will move through you naturally, like wind through leaves. You will speak less and accomplish more. You will touch lives without trying to fix them. Your energy will heal what your words cannot. This is the maturity of the chosen, effortless influence born from inner stillness. There will be moments when you are tempted to doubt again, to wonder if you are enough. But remember, the same voice that called you out of silence now calls you forward in confidence. You are not operating alone. You are an extension of something infinite. Every action you take reverberates through eternity. Your legacy will not be measured in achievements, but in alignment. The world may never know your name, yet heaven will never forget your obedience. That is immortality, the kind not written in books but etched in divine memory. So breathe, beloved. Let peace fill you one last time. You have traveled from awakening to awareness, from silence to sound, from hiddenness to harmony. You are the echo of heaven's heart beating on earth. The light in you is not borrowed, it is born. Walk gently, carry wisdom, and remember always you are part of a divine design that cannot fail. The darkness may surround, but it cannot consume. You are proof of that. And now, chosen one, we reach the quiet close of this journey, but not its end. What has been spoken here was never just words, it was an awakening. You have walked through silence, through warfare, through light, and through revelation. And now, heaven watches as you step into your own story with confidence and clarity. If this message has stirred your soul, if somewhere along these words your heart whispered, "This is me," then let that recognition live beyond this moment. Like this message to anchor your agreement. Share it so another soul might awaken from their own silence. Your small act of sharing may become the spark that saves a weary heart. Leave your reflection below in the comments, a single sentence, a prayer, a word of gratitude. It will not vanish into the noise. It will echo through this gathering of the chosen, weaving your voice into the tapestry of light. And if you have not yet done so, subscribe not merely to a channel, but to a calling. Stay connected to the flow of words that remind you of who you are. The world needs your light, your love, your courage. Shine on, beloved.